5:30, can we lower the volume?
Chair, the meeting is now being recorded.
Thank you. I would like to call the regular meeting of July 8th, 2024 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Benninger,
Present.
Commissioner Escamilla, Commissioner Leo,
Here.
Commissioner Ramos,
Present.
Commissioner Wu,
Here.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Here.
Chair Pham.
Here.
Chair, quorum has been reached at 5:35.
Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphone on when speaking and off when not speaking. And when speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Members of the public may attend Planning Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in the meetings.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal at www.sana-ana.primegov.com/public/portal and to YouTube at www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom, enter meeting ID number 811-450-86688. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID number 811-450-86688. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, press 9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you're called upon, you may press 6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to the public comments on non-agenda, non-public hearing items. Madam Secretary, does anyone wish to speak?
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please fill a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and you would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. I will wait for a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Escamilla has joined us. Moving on to the consent calendar, is there a motion to approve item A, minutes from June 24th, and item
I
B,
move
excused
the
absences?
consent calendar A and B.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wu and a second by Commissioner Benninger. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
I'll abstain since I wasn't here for the minutes.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Leo abstaining.
That'll conclude the consent calendar. Moving on to the public hearing. I will now review the process for the public hearing so everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a brief presentation and answer questions from the commission. The public hearing will then be open. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continued review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, which is voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Please note, Decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 days by any interested individual or party. Recommendations on this item will be forwarded to the City Council at a later date for final determination. This is the time and place for modification of conditional use permit number 2005-22 for the property located at 1441 West 17th Street, located within the general commercial C2 zoning district. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Seeing none, Matthew Kilroy would now provide a brief presentation. Matthew.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you for welcoming me. To sum up this item before you, Target Corporation is requesting approval for conditional use permit number 2005-22 and approval to make a determination for public convenience or necessity to allow the sale of distilled spirits in addition to existing beer and wine for off-premises consumption at an existing Target store located at 1441 West 17th Street. Staff is recommending the adoption of a resolution approving the CUP as conditioned. The site is located within the general plan land use designation as general commercial. The site's zoning classification is for general commercial C2 zone. The surrounding land uses include Mendez Fundamental Intermediate School to the north, commercial to the east and west, and Santa Ana College to the south. The building is located on a 7.69 acre lot with a target building taking up over 122,000 square feet. The site was developed in 1995 as a home-based home improvement retail store, and in 2003, an addition was constructed to facilitate the operation of a new Target retail store. Throughout the years, the site has continued to be improved with interior and exterior improvements. Yeah, sure.
Commissioners, we'll take a quick pause as we reset the monitors.
Cool. All right, so on November 28th, 2005, the Planning Commission approved resolution number 2005-18, allowing the sale of beer and wine for off-premises consumption. On September 25th, 2023, the applicant submitted the subject application to the Planning Division to modify the existing CUP to allow the sale of distilled spirits for off-premises consumption in order to provide an additional service to its customers and become a one-stop department store. Currently, Target operates 2 additional locations within Santa Ana. The 17th and Grand location was approved by Planning Commission on April 10th, 2023 to sell beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The Bristol and Alton location currently sells beer and wine. This is a site photo of the southern elevations and main entrance for the existing Target building. This is a site plan of the subject property. This is the floor plan. As shown, the alcohol display will take up only a small fraction of the floor space, 244 square feet, located a substantial distance away from the only entrance and exit of the building. This is an enlargement of the floor plan, illustrating the amount of shelving that the alcohol display will inhabit. Based on the analysis of the project, the Planning Division has found that the subject site is consistent with the goals and objectives found in the land use element of the general plan. It is located in a commercial zone, neighbors other commercial uses, and is not located in close proximity to any parks or children's playgrounds. Although Target abuts the Mendez Fundamental Intermediate School, approximately 545 linear feet to the north, the orientation of the primary entrances of both buildings face in opposite directions, further enhancing the separation between the existing land uses. Santa Ana College is approximately 800 linear feet to the south of the property and across 17th Street. Approval of the CUP will allow Target to remain economically viable and compete with nearby stores offering the same type of goods. Target is a full-scale department store with a market section that offers a host of consumer as well as other staple goods. The sale of distilled spirits, in addition to beer and wine, for off-premises consumption is consistent with operations of similar full-scale grocery stores. Target produces and implements corporate policies and procedures intended to prevent alcohol sales from developing into community nuisances, such as staff training on preventing theft and loss, as well as prevention of sale of individual containers. The police department is satisfied with the operational standards and conditions of approval, will mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community, and does not oppose the granting of the CUP. According to the Santa Ana Police Department crime statistics, they found that within police grid number 123, it ranked 23 out of 102, which is the 22nd percentile, below the 20th percent threshold established by the state for high crime. Conditions of approval, property maintenance agreements, and standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. A PCN determination is required for the project because Target is located in census tract number 753.02, where the ratio of existing retail off-premise alcohol licenses to population in the census tract exceeds the ratio of retail premises, off-premises alcohol licenses to population in the county, resulting in an over-concentration of the determination or determined by the ABC. ABC allows a maximum of 2 off-premises alcohol licenses for census tract, and currently there are 4 active ABC licenses. However, it is important to note that if this subject CUP is approved, the existing Type 20 ABC license currently being operated by Target will be surrendered once this Type 21 ABC license is approved and processed by ABC, and the census tract will continue to have a total of 4 ABC licenses. This is a local area map with the existing Target store in the middle and the 4 existing active ABC licenses in the subject tract. We'll now present PCN findings. Although there are other establishments selling alcoholic beverages for off-premises consumption nearby, none of those establishments offer the same complete department store shopping opportunities as Target. The expansion of the market section will improve the overall functions of the business by enhancing the complete department store experience, allowing the store to remain economically viable by allowing the subject property to provide the same Target goods along with over 95% of the existing Target stores in California that currently sells alcoholic beverages. This would grant community access to a full selection of items that grocery customers have come to expect. Operational standards, conditions of approval, and Target store policies will mitigate any potential detrimental effects, should any arise, by enforcing policies, protocols, and alcohol-related training initiatives to ensure that alcohol sales are handled in a responsible manner to deter crime, loitering, and any other activity that could be detrimental to the surrounding community. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and the CEQA guidelines, the project is categorically exempt from further review, and there will be no fiscal impact associated with this action. Staff recommends the adoption of the resolution approving CUP number 2005-22-mod-1 as conditioned and making a determination of public convenience or necessity. Secondly, staff recommends authorizing staff to issue a public convenience of necessity to the State Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. And lastly, the applicant representing Target, Beth Abalafia, is in attendance and happy to answer any of the questions, as am I. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Does the commission have any comments or question for Matthew? Commissioner Bettinger?
I don't have any questions for staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yeah, since we're just going a little bit off of a precedent right now, have we had any issues emerge out of the last CUP approval over at Grand and 17th? So very similar situation.
There has been no, it's been approved. There's been no outstanding issues with building safety, police department.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Leo?
No questions.
Commissioner Wu?
The location of where the alcohol would be sold is consistent with where the wine is being sold. But also in the vicinity of that is also soft drinks and bubbly water and sodas. And there has been notes posted by Target limiting the number of youth, because there has been this junior high nearby, in the store at one time. So I was wondering, does the Target policy and training will require that the more hard liquor be behind a cage, like at some of the other stores? I know that at, I think Albertson, they got it behind, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Beth Abelafia is here to answer more of those questions, but at this time, it's not being presented that they will behind, the alcohol will be behind like a locked case or cabinet.
Yeah, that goes back to your PCN, in which it does talk about the overconcentration of off-sale alcohol in the area. And so I was wondering if there needs to be some initial measure that we place on it because it's also a store that sells clothing to children and family oriented, and you have kids there, and there is a junior high school nearby. Not to say that junior high school kids go to buy alcohol, but if we were looking at approving this, we want to make sure that there's some kind of mitigation.
There's a substantial amount of security guards that will be posted throughout the store to prohibit any sort of stealing activities or anything like that.
Yeah, they have existing security guards now, right? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes. First, thank you for the clarification on the number of ABC licenses and how this modification wouldn't change that number. My only question is this request nearly identical to the request that was received for the Target on 17 and Grand?
So this one's a modification to an existing one. That one was from the beginning. So that one on 17th and Grand didn't have any sort of alcohol sales. This one's a modification to an existing. So this is pretty much just the addition of distilled spirits.
And approving this would basically allow for the same sales that are currently allowed at the Target on 17 and Grand, correct?
That is correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Vice Chair?
No questions.
Have there been any issues with the current use of the ABC license as stipulated?
There's no outstanding notice violations with this property, and police department didn't have any sort of relation to any sort of alcohol issues.
That's it for me. Is there any other questions? Yeah, we'll open up the hearing. We'll open the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Beth Abelafia. I'm representing Target in this matter. And I think the staff presentation and staff report were very thorough with respect to what this request is. Target has been selling beer and wine under an approved CUP at this store for almost 20 years, since 2005. And since that time, Target's business model has changed to include a much more substantial grocery section than it did 20 years ago. And in connection with that larger grocery component, Target would like to be able to also offer customers the full range of alcoholic beverages as part of their grocery offerings. As Mr. Kilroy mentioned, more than 95% of the Target stores in California do sell the full range of alcoholic beverage products at their stores, and so we would like to be able to offer those same products to the customers of this Santa Ana store. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you. Commissioner Benninger, do you have any questions?
Yes. Just on Saturday, I went over to Target store on campus right across from UCI. I noticed that they sell also liquor there also. And all the liquor bottles had the safety cap on top, the old trip alarm if they get out of the gate. or shall we say, gets through the cash register without it being taken off. Will this store also have the same thing on their hard liquor?
I can't say for certain that they will. They certainly do have that option of using some sort of bottle caps or even locked cases should it present a problem once they start selling distilled spirits. But I don't believe that the intent initially is to do that.
I do like the location, far away from the front door, just it makes it harder for someone to procure. So I do appreciate that location. Thank you. All done.
Commissioner Escamilla?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Leo?
No questions.
Commissioner Wu? Do you want to clarify some? Okay. Commissioner Ramos? Vice Chair? No question for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, have we received any written communications? Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this matter?
We have not received public comment prior to the 3:30 deadline. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I second.
All right, no, I'll give that one to Al anyway.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Benninger, a second by Commissioner Wu. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger?
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Aye.
Commissioner Leo?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos?
Aye.
Commissioner Wu?
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva?
Aye.
Chair Pham?
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Moving on to item number 2, this is a time and place for modification of conditional use permit number 2012-14 for the property located at 3300 South Bristol Street, located within the planned shopping center C4 zoning district. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners wish to disclose anything in regards to this item? Seeing none, Matthew will now provide a brief presentation. Matthew?
Thank you. So to sum up this item before you, Target Corporation is requesting approval of conditional use permit 2012-14 and approval to make a determination for public convenience or necessity to allow the sale of distilled spirits in addition to existing beer and wine for off-premises consumption, an existing Target store located at 3300 South Bristol Street. Staff is recommending the adoption of a resolution approving this CUP as conditioned. The site is located within the general plan land use designation as general commercial, medium, GC-2. The site's zoning classification is for a planned shopping center, C4 zone. The surrounding land uses include a single-family residences and industrial uses to the north, commercial to the east and south, and multifamily residential development to the west. The building is located on a 7.63 acre lot with the Target building taking up over 102,000 square feet. The site was developed in 1985 as a Target retail store. In 2010, Target expanded their retail selection by including a market and grocery section. And throughout the years, the site has continued to be improved with interior and exterior improvements. On August 13th, 2012, the Planning Commission approved resolution number 2012-08, allowing the sale of beer and wine for off-premises consumption. On September 25th, 2023, the applicant submitted the subject application to the Planning Division to modify the existing CUP to allow the sale of distilled spirits for off-premises consumption in order to provide an additional service to its customers and become a one-stop department store. Currently, Target operates 2 additional locations within Santa Ana. The 17th and Grand location was approved by Planning Commission on April 10th, 2023 to sell beer and wine and distilled spirits. This is a site photo of the eastern elevations and main entrance of the existing Target building. This is a site plan of the subject property. This is the floor plan. As shown, the alcohol display will take up a small fraction of the floor space, 358 square feet, located a substantial distance away from the only entrance exit of the building. This is an enlargement of the floor plan illustrating the amount of shelving that the alcohol display will inhabit. Based on the analysis of the project, the Planning Division has found that the subject site is consistent with the goals and objectives found in the land use element of the general plan. It is located in a general commercial zone, neighbors other commercial uses, which abuts to the Santa Ana Gardens Channel and a multifamily residential development to the west, and is not located in close proximity to any parks, playgrounds, or schools. Approval of the CUP will allow Target to remain economically viable and compete with nearby stores offering the same type of goods. Target is a full-scale department store with a market section that offers a host of consumer as well as other staple goods. The sale of distilled spirits, in addition to beer and wine, for off-premises consumption is consistent with operations of similar full-scale grocery stores. Target produces and implements corporate policies, procedures intended to prevent alcohol sales from developing into community nuisances, such as staff training and preventing theft and loss, as well as prevention of the sale of individual containers. The police department is satisfied with the operational standards and conditions of approval, will mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community, and do not oppose the granting of the CUP. According to Santa Ana Police Department crime statistics, they found that the police grid number 130, it ranked 26 out of 102, which is the 25th percentile, below the 20th percent threshold established by the state for high crime. Conditions of approval, property maintenance agreement, and standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. A PCN determination is required for this project because Target is located in census tract number 741.07, where the ratio of existing retail off-premises alcohol licenses to population in the census tract exceeds the ratio of retail off-premises alcohol license to the population in the county, resulting in an overconcentration as determined by ABC. ABC allows a maximum of 3 off-premises alcohol licenses for this census tract, and currently there are 4 active ABC licenses. However, it is important to note that if the subject CUP is approved, the existing Type 20 ABC license currently being operated by Target will be surrendered once the Type 21 ABC license is approved and processed by ABC, and the census tract will continue to have a total of 4 ABC licenses. This is a local area map with the existing Target store and the 4 existing ABC licenses in the subject census tract. I will now present PCN findings. Although there are other establishments selling alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption nearby, none of those establishments offer the same complete department store shopping opportunities as Target. The expansion of the market section will improve the overall functions of the business by enhancing the complete department store experience, allowing the store to remain economically viable by allowing the subject property to provide the same Target goods along with over 95% of the existing Target stores in California that currently sell alcoholic beverages. This would grant community access to a full selection of items that grocery customers have come to expect. Operational standards, conditions of approval, and Target store policies will mitigate any potential detrimental effects, should any arise, by enforcing policies, protocol, and alcohol-related training initiatives to ensure that alcohol sales are handled in a responsible manner, to deter crime, loitering, and any other activity that should be detrimental to the surrounding community. In accordance with CEQA and the CEQA guidelines, the project is categorically exempt from further review, and there is no physical impact associated with this action. Staff recommends the adoption of a resolution approving CUP number 2012-14-mod-1 as conditioned and making a determination of public convenience or necessity. Secondly, staff recommends authorizing to issue a letter of public convenience or necessity to the State Department of the Alcoholic Beverage and Control. Once again, I'm happy to answer questions, and Beth is still here.
Thank you, Matthew. Does the commission have any comments for Matthew? Commissioner Benninger?
Yes, I just have one question for you. I don't understand how the census tracts are set up, because there's a liquor store that went out of business that was at MacArthur and Bristol on the east side. But I guess the tract that they're in is not involved in that, correct?
That is correct. So it's right on the border. I believe Bristol is the street that defines that certain census tract. So that is not considered in the census tract.
And who determines census tract? Is that state or is that city?
I believe that's ABC.
That's
Census- The Census Bureau determines the census tract, and based on the population of the census tract, ABC is able to determine the number of licenses.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Escamilla,
No questions.
Commissioner Leo,
No questions.
Commissioner Wu,
No?
Commissioner Ramos, Vice Chair. No questions for me as well. We'll open the hearing to the public. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Hello, Beth Abalafia again for Target. This request is similar to the request that was just heard. We have been selling beer and wine at this store for over 10 years and would like to bring this store as well in line with the other stores in California and now with the other two Santa Ana stores to be able to offer the full range of alcohol products. We did do outreach to the neighborhood associations, both for this location and the one that was previously discussed. There were no objections from the community. Police department have no issues. And so we would hope that the commission would support staff's recommendation on this one as well.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner?
No, I don't have any questions.
Seeing none, we'll close the public.
Thank you.
Actually, I apologize. Have we received any written communications, or is there anyone that wishes to speak on this matter?
We have not received public comment prior to a 3:30 deadline. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve 2012-14 Mod 1.
And I'll second this time.
A second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Benninger and a second by Commissioner Escamilla. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 3. This is the time and place for conditional use permit number 2024-06, 2024-07 for the property located at 1303 North Bristol Street, within the Bristol Street Corridor Specific Plan SP1 zoning district. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners wish to disclose? Seeing none, Heidi Jacinto will now provide a brief presentation. Heidi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the commission. We have item number 3 this evening for conditional use permit number 2024-06 and 2024-07 for the property located at 1303 North Bristol Street within Ward 5. Jay Higgins with Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, the applicant, on behalf of Charles Mann, the property owner, is requesting approval of conditional use permit number 2024-06 and conditional use permit number 2024-04 to allow for construction of a new eating establishment with drive-through window service and after-hours operation. Staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving CUP number 2024-06 and CUP number 2024-07 as conditioned. The property is located within the General Commercial General Plan designation within the Bristol Street Corridor Specific Plan Commercial Zoning District, surrounded by medical offices to the north, single-family residences to the east, a vacant property to the south, and Santa Ana College to the west. The lot is approximately 1.12 acres in size, which equates to 49,010 square feet. The proposed building would be 2,899 square feet. The parcels on the screen highlighted in red are the subject site. The applicant is proposing to construct a new single-story, 2,899 square foot commercial pad building with a 1,866 square foot outdoor patio. The proposed site improvements include double drive-through lanes that would extend approximately 382 feet in length, a trash enclosure, 21 parking stalls, as well as merging various parcels identified in a purchase and sale agreement with the city. The proposed hours of operation would be Sunday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. and Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. However, the outdoor patio seating would be limited to 12 a.m. midnight. Lastly, no live entertainment or alcohol sales are proposed as part of this project. In 1991, the City Council adopted the Bristol Street Corridor Specific Plan to address the projected increase in traffic as part of the revitalization efforts of the corridor. Several parcels along Bristol Street were acquired by the city by right-of-way acquisition, which includes the subject properties. The existing commercial buildings on the site that served an eating establishment and medical office were then demolished in 2008. The properties were sold on June 21, 2022 through agreement for exchange of real property to Charles Mann for redevelopment. Subsequently, the property owner entered into a lease agreement with Raising Cane's for redevelopment, and on May 30, 2023 submitted development project application number 2023-22. On the screen, we have a photo of the site, which is currently vacant. And on the screen, we have the proposed site plan and the proposed floor plan. Here we have the conceptual landscape plan and proposed elevations. Staff is recommending approval based on the following analysis. The C5 zoning district enables the applicant to submit the required CUP applications for Planning Commission consideration to conditionally permit drive-through window service and after-hours operation. Approval of the request would allow for the proposed establishment to provide additional service to both workers in the vicinity and residents in the area. Additionally, the project would activate an underutilized property and generate new and permanent employment opportunities, which would contribute to the economic growth and stability of the city. The project is not anticipated to create nuisance for the adjacent residential properties located to the east of the project site, as lighting would be less than 5-foot candles on site and 0-foot candles beyond the property line. Noise would also be within 1.1 weighted decibels of the city's allowable exterior noise standards of 50 weighted decibels. Landscaping would also be provided along the east property line wall for additional sound attenuation. A high-quality air scrubber would also be installed to limit any exterior odor from prepared food. The drive-through lanes would be designed to provide adequate space to accommodate vehicle demand without disruption of on-site circulation or parking, and without obstructing of pedestrian circulation. 21 parking stalls have been provided on-site pursuant to Assembly Bill number 2097, as the site is located within a half-mile of a major transit location. The dining room and drive-through lane hours of operation would be limited to 1 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and to 1:30 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, while the patio hours would be limited to 12 a.m. daily. Lastly, the proposed project is consistent with various goals and policies, including those found in the land use and economic prosperity element. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, the project is categorically exempt from further review per Section 15303 of CEQA guidelines. An environmental review number 2023-72 will be filed for this project. There is no fiscal impact associated with this project. Therefore, staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit number 2024-06 and 2024-07 as conditioned. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and Jay Higgins, the applicant, is in attendance as well.
Thank you, Heidi. Commissioner Benninger, you have any questions for Heidi?
Yes, Heidi, could you put the parking lot and drive-through schematic back up there? My concern has to do with traffic on Bristol and how it's going to get affected.
So we can look here at the landscape plan. The drive-through is along the east property line and would exit along the north property line. The drive-through is a double drive-through lane. It extends approximately 382 feet and would accommodate vehicles. And it has an additional spillover area adjacent to this, to these landscape planters to ensure there is no spillover on Bristol Street.
So as I see it, the entrance for the drive-through is actually midway on Bristol, exits at the far north end. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And going along with something I learned at the last commission meeting, the type of trees that are going to be there in landscaping, do we know?
I believe, so there is a variety of.
I can ask my tree expert over here.
He's motioning a thumbs up.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
Sorry?
I didn't hear your answer.
So there appears to be various types of trees that would provide for shade throughout the site.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Thank you, Heidi. I guess I'm more of trying to get some context out here as far as like this conversation. So we're looking at this parcel as a vacant parcel, but I think what we're kind of missing a little bit is the history as to kind of how we got here. So from my understanding, this particular location was formerly 8 local small businesses that the city essentially acquired during the Bristol street widening. And now, rather than having 8 local small businesses, we have one particular drive-through with coming in. Nothing against Raising Cane's, I go there all the time. But from a land use perspective, we essentially are now allowing within the Bristol Street specific plan, a land use FAR that's at 0.059, so just only 5% or almost 6% of the land is actually being used for any sort of building. And that's essentially what our standards require. So I feel that this project is fully in compliance with the rules and regulations for the plan. But I think it's our job here to question that specific plan. So I really just wanted to kind of state that more than anything, because I think this particular stretch had, for anyone that's familiar with, let's say Fumio Demura, so he's like the real life Mr. Miyagi. He had his studio here on the specific side of Bristol. So luckily he's still within the city. I think he's over on like North Tustin right now. But again, I think when we look at these kind of scraped sites, we really do have to question as to whether or not the plans that we have in place are going to be delivering the types of projects that put us forward. And I just don't feel that with this project, but I do feel that it complies with the rules and regulations required of it. But we do have to question how we got from 8 small businesses to one corporate fast food restaurant at this site. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leo?
When I was looking at the attachments and the only thing that I saw that I didn't see was the neighborhood association. Are they on board? Was there a letter? I just didn't know if there was a letter there or not.
From Washington Square.
Washington Square was in support, okay. The other thing, and to add on to Commissioner Escamilla's comments, the reason Bristol is the way it is because the city of Santa Ana was opposed to a freeway down the riverbed. That's the historical perspective of why Bristol was widened. If Bristol was not widened, we might see the 57 freeway extended down the riverbed. And so therefore, that's why we ended up with the remnant parcels that we did and why we're going the route we did. But historical perspective was people would prefer to connect the 57 to the 405. Santa Ana's opposed to that in general, so I'll add more history to Commissioner Escamilla's comments. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Leo. Commissioner Wu?
The Artesia Pilar Neighborhood Association also met on this. Their concern kind of mirrors what the Washington Square did in terms of limiting the hours, concern with the traffic impact, because you have McDonald's and you have In-N-Out Burger. And so we have a concentration of fast food places, but the mitigation seemed to be in the design of how cars go in and out and the flow, which does not seem to impact or create more traffic problem. If you go there and you see In-N-Out has a lot of parking. So, you mitigated most of it. Now, in terms of lighting, you might understand it does not intrude on the residential properties that are next door to it, which is the back portion of the restaurant parking area, right?
That is correct. A photometric plan, a photometric study was conducted for this site, and with the placement of the light standers and with light shields, the lighting would be fully contained on site and be less than 5-foot candles on site, which is the minimum requirement, and 0-foot candles beyond the property line boundaries.
Just out of curiosity, the remnant properties was amassed and sold to one owner, right?
Yes, various parcels were sold to one owner and are being merged under a lot merger.
And it was not considered under the land trust at any point?
Sorry, the lot merger is not, is an administrative approval.
I'm just curious about that. Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes, I think what maybe Commissioner Wu was alluding to was whether these parcels were first subject to the Surplus Lands Act.
Commissioner Ramos, we do have a representative from our Public Works Agency here, Monica Suter with Development Engineering, who can provide the history about the parcels, their acquisition, the Surplus Lands Act, and then to Commissioner Escamilla's earlier points today, touching on some color as to how we got here today.
Perfect,
So,
thank you.
If you don't mind clarifying. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Ali. Yeah, as far as the Surplus Lands Act, let me start with that the parcels in this situation are not 100, for the site have been addressed. There's a little slim parcel to the north that is in progress. And so there is that issue. In terms of the Surplus Lands Act, I'm newer to that area. I'm not going to speak to that. As far as the traffic impacts, I can speak to that. The bus stop has been enhanced with a floating bus stop, and the bike lane is being preserved. And in fact, there's less of a mixing situation to just north of Washington on the northeast corner of Washington and Bristol. So that's an improvement, and also the queuing study is another thing that with the 2 lanes and also the length of the queuing study is supposed to function properly. So that should be good. And any other questions?
Yeah,
Apologies, but
I'll ask a follow-up question first before we change direction. But can somebody on staff confirm that the Surplus Lands Act was followed and these parcels were first offered up for open space or affordable housing? And then nobody took them, and that's why we're here?
So short answer, yes. And then in the resolution that's being drafted, or that was drafted and recommended to the commission for approval this evening, recital D describes in high level that process that in the year 2020, the city council adopted a resolution declaring this and a handful of other parcels as surplus. And in doing so, they followed the requirements of the Surplus Lands Act at that time. And then that sort of opened the door for this application to be considered and submitted before the commission this evening.
Yes, thank you, Ali. And that was before my time in this position, so I defer to your history and your
Commissioner
knowledge.
Wu, did you?
Yeah, I didn't know Public Works was going to be here, but my question is, the streets are narrow on the Artesia Pilar side
Yeah.
of the neighborhood. So when you're trying to make a left turn there or a right turn, my question is this going to be affecting, the traffic into the neighborhood at, which is already narrow enough when you have parked cars there?
Parked cars where? On Bristol?
No, on the, going into the neighborhood.
Yeah. I don't think this site plan really affects any of that because the site plan is contained on Bristol here north of Washington. So I think we're good there. Yeah, so as far as the neighborhood, on-street parking, this is going to generally serve a lot of pass-by traffic as well, where people are driving down the street, realize they're hungry and pull in, want to get something to eat, and then they get back on their way. So there's also an element of pass-by traffic. So, yeah, I don't think there's any issue with neighborhood parking.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos, any additional comments? No. Vice Chair?
You actually clarified one of the questions that I had, so no additional questions.
I think this is for Heidi. The wall that's in between the proposed parcel and the SFRs, is that taller than normal? I'm assuming for screening for sound?
Yes, I believe the wall is an 8-foot wall there and will include landscaping.
And the surrounding neighbors, they've been disclosed to the potential noise and potential car idling since they have a...
Yes, the project was noticed to a 1,000-foot radius, and so the neighborhood was also noticed as well.
Okay. And there's no opposition to the drive out?
We did not receive, I believe we received 2 comments related to opposition. Not specifically to the drive aisle, more so related to the noise and I believe, and lighting and CEQA.
Yeah, and there was also that the notifications went out over the holidays, so they wanted more time. I think that was one comment.
That's the extent of my comments. Is there any other comments from the commissions? Commissioner Escamilla?
Yeah, just a quick question, because I know the general policy, Heidi, we've been including the economic and fiscal impacts. I know we can't talk about, we can't look at Raising Cane's and say this is how much the other Raising Cane's made. But do we have an average as to what we're going to expect as far as sales tax income and then additional property taxes based off of this project? Or if we don't have that information, totally cool. I'm just saying if we can't get that. Oh, I have no idea what that was. He agrees.
Just trying to answer you.
Yeah, fiscal impact is very important.
So- We don't have those numbers currently. I'm not sure if potentially the applicant might. However, in their description for the project, they did indicate that this Raising Cane's would essentially be supporting the capacity or the demand for the other Raising Cane's in the city.
Commissioner Benninger?
Yeah, I do have one additional question. I'm surprised you didn't get a comment from the neighborhood concerning odor. I don't know if we have a standard on odor. I can only relate to the other Raising Cane's that I know that's on Harbor. Is very well ventilated. You don't smell anything when you're next to it. But do we have the city, do we have any regulations or any concerns about odor from a restaurant like this?
We don't have a development standard related to odor. However, that was taken into consideration when reviewing the project, and a condition of approval has been imposed requiring the applicant to install a high-quality air scrubber to eliminate any kind of no odor from the food preparation.
Will we go back 6 months from now and just make sure that all this is functioning?
Commissioner, under the conditional use permit, the city has the option at any time to be able to go back and review the conditional use permit if we do get reports of nuisance issue relating to any operational elements of the project site.
Commissioner Escamilla.
Or, follow up to that, man. Is that now different because of the additional ordinance that allows you and creates a process to review the COP, or was that already in place before we made that change?
That has always been in place.
Thank you.
No other comments? All right. We'll open the hearing to the public. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jay Higgins, representing Raising Cane's this evening. We're excited to be here for a second restaurant in the city. Really quick, and thank you to staff for helping us through the process. We did get some feedback early on about architectural changes, some site plan changes, which we've made here, and you'll see that the project does give up some property of Mr. Mann's to allow for the bike lane to be fully separated off of Bristol. So we did lose a little parking spaces, but we were able to accommodate that. It'll be heavily landscaped along a corridor. And then with respect to hours of operation, we did have a meeting with the Washington Square Neighborhood Association several months ago. They asked us about hours of operation. Our standard in Santa Ana and other restaurants around is to be open until 3 a.m., 3:30 on the weekends. But in this case, we are able to compromise and go to 1:30 on the weekends and 1 a.m. on the weekdays. That was a request of the neighbors, and we accommodated that. In addition, we do have a noise study that proves out that there's no noise impacts from our project. Lighting study is, as Heidi mentioned as well. So I can take whatever questions you want to throw at me about operations, but keep in mind we do employ about 75 people at each of our restaurants, 13 to 14 at a time during a shift, and we'll be probably, I won't quote, you could, it's out there on the internet what annual revenue Cane's restaurants do on a national basis. Here in this case, we're putting several $1 million into the project to build it up. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Commissioner Benninger.
Yes, I'll go back to my question on odor. What type of scrubberage system will you be putting in this location?
That is a good question. We've read the conditions of approval. The staff wants us to have a high quality. I could not tell you what the spec is on that, but we're not a burger joint, so we don't do a lot of char broiling or cooking. So it's a little different. But if there's a nuisance problem, we'll address it because we understand the city has that right, and we don't want to have cranky neighbors anyway.
If it's similar to your location on Harbor, it works well.
Yep.
All set?
Commissioner Escamilla.
Yeah, this is just more in general for operational, when you're operational. So one of the only issues that we kind of see with some of the drive-through areas, late night on Bristol specifically, it's just, late night congregation, usually not a big deal, but every so often could be probably a little annoying to the neighbors if folks are just getting a little loud out there. So just, if you can, just include, at least when you all get started, some sort of security plan, just to make sure that folks aren't just out there, beyond when you close and just, end up congregating and then causing issues that aren't necessarily of the restaurant, but, from folks that are just out there.
It's not uncommon for that to happen late night. Of course, here we're not open as late as we are at other places, but if our parking lot's not safe, then our customers don't come as frequently.
Commissioner Leo.
No questions.
Commissioner Wu.
Yeah, your store or your restaurant over by the 55, and you have one on Harbor too, right? And the oil doesn't seem to be a problem on the air. What kind of filter system you use?
It's called a DART Pro for the grease interceptor. Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with how often those are maintained, but I believe it's once a week. But I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, like Commissioner Bendinger, I was looking for some fried chicken smell and I didn't notice anything. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos? Vice Chair? No questions for me as well. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, have we received any written communications? Or is there anyone in the public that would like to speak?
We have received public comment prior to the 3:30 deadline, and it has been distributed to the commission and posted online. If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into a secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself once your name is called. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we have 3 speakers on Zoom.
Do you have the name of the first speaker?
Catlin, please unmute yourself. Catlin, you have 3 minutes. Redding, can you please unmute yourself? Redding, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Nicole Redding, and I live on Louise Street. Thanks for the notice that we received recently. Just a few questions, things that have already been brought up, but curious if the 8-foot wall is a standard height, and if there is an opportunity to have that be any higher, and then also if that requires removal of existing walls that are in those residences' backyards, or if they just go along those walls and what that maintenance looks like. I see there was security measures and identifying that. I think that is critical. We do get a lot more traffic having folks like in and out. There's trash in front of our homes sometimes where people park in front of our homes, eat, and then dump their stuff in front of our streets. So that's a concern as well, but not sure how much we can do about that other than permit parking. Also wanted to ask what happens between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. and if there are big trucks, like how you keep sound down for our neighbors. And then finally, when these buildings along Bristol were demoed some years back, there was a lot of dirt and dust that came into our yards. Really seemed like an environmental hazard to a point where a few of us did call in. So I would hope during the build phase, there's some kind of plan in place to mitigate any impact on residences. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. You have the next caller.
Andrew, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, hello. Hi, so my name is Andrew. I live on 12th and Bristol my whole life, and I guess I was a little saddened to hear that my neighbors and businesses were torn down and essentially sold off for now Raising Cane's. That's beside the point. My concern is mainly going to be traffic because as we've seen on like In and Out over on Civic and Bristol, it's never going to stop. I mean, even with the redevelopment they did about 2 years ago, there's still traffic. I mean, trying to go home like right now from this meeting will be a nightmare just because that line will tend to wrap around. On top of that would probably be what the lady kindly mentioned beforehand, which would be the all the trash that you see outside the window or outside your house. Typically, at least once a week, I'm going to pick up like In and Out trash, like because it'll be your corner house. I have to pick up that pretty much on a weekly basis at minimum, if not more. And again, not much we can do about that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't approve this project just mainly because of traffic, noise, and it's probably going to be small. I hope not. But yeah, that's my 2 cents, my 10 cents free. All right. I don't know. That's it for me.
Thank you. Were we able to reach the third caller?
Catlin, please unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry about the audio issues. Hi, my name is Catlin. I also live in the nearby neighborhood within the 1,000 feet. So thank you for the notice. I guess in general, just a little bummed to see that there's that much fast food coming in this close. And I'm a little, we just recently invested, by buying this house, and it was a big deal for us. And we love this little gem of a neighborhood. There's kind of a few of them left. This one's very old, has a lot of history, and if it's just being surrounded by what equates to fast food, it kind of has a negative detriment not only to just the vibe in the area, but also to the real estate value. I can't imagine it's any good. And also concerning the traffic, I commonly come down Bristol, which many do, and turn left into Washington to get home. And there's many people in that left turn lane purely to U-turn to get into the McDonald's. And if we add a Raising Cane's there, especially a drive-through, all the more people will be backed up on that left turn, which backs up the southbound traffic on Bristol. So I'm less concerned about it coming out of the driveway onto Bristol and more concerned about that left turn lane backing up considerably. And yeah, I think I just would like to reiterate all the notes that Andrew and Redding said. I agree with all of that as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was the last speaker we had.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. I'll bring it back to the commission. Would you like to discuss a little bit before I poll for a vote? Commissioner Benninger?
The last caller talked about traffic, making a left-hand turn across northbound Bristol. Will that be possible by how we're going to allow traffic to flow?
Sorry, the question was,
The question, can someone make a left-hand turn, legally make a left-hand turn across what will be North Bristol into this Raising Cane's? I assume exit, you can only make a right-hand turn out. I don't think you can go across Bristol and make a left.
Right.
But talking more about going in, I assumed you're going to have to go down to Washington, make a U-turn, and come back to enter. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with that intersection of Bristol and Washington.
Commissioner Benninger, there's a solid median that would prevent people from turning left in the way that you're describing.
Very good. That's my only concern.
And palm trees.
Commissioner Escamilla?
I think we should have gone with a different tree, yes, Alan. I will stand by that. I guess the question, though, was more on the southbound U-turn. I think Bristol is presently wide enough to maybe have another lane. So this might just be for traffic engineering to keep an eye on. I don't necessarily know that we can condition any changes at this point. I think we'd have to have some other, threshold study to require it. But I do think it's maybe worth monitoring, and it might quite honestly be alleviated once the Bristol plan in this particular section is widened so that we have more through lanes, and there might be a little bit of additional space for queuing on the U-turn section on South Bristol, making that U-turn or making that left onto eastbound Washington. So anyways, I think it's definitely something worth monitoring. I don't know if more generally we do have any process or procedure in place to examine queuing questions, and this might be something for the commission to take a look at later, where we examine exactly what our procedures are when it comes to, we did everything by the book, but in and out demand is still so high, and we still have queuing, even though we expanded their queuing, I think maybe 3 to 4 times what they had before, but it still wasn't enough. So I just want to know kind of what procedurally maybe we have in place currently, and if we don't have anything, that it might be something worth examining as a commission, because it will come up again.
Heidi, would you like to respond to that?
As far as the queuing of the intersection, I believe I would defer to our public works staff as far as what the plan is and if and how they evaluate the need for additional U-turns there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, this is like 50 feet of like perfect driveway, like as best a job as we possibly can do on this site. But again, just what do we do even when we do everything we possibly can, there's still a queuing issue. And so I think it's more of a general observation for the commission to consider later.
Commissioner Leo?
No comments.
Commissioner Wu? Commissioner Ramos? Vice Chair? I just want to confirm, I think one of the callers asked about the existing wall heights, whether or not they need to be replaced or we're building abutting the existing wall. It looks like it's already 8 feet existing, so I'm not sure what's the proposal.
Yeah, I will clarify, actually, on the site plan, it's identified as 6 feet 8 inches, and they are not currently proposing to extend it. The applicant is here, and I'm not sure if that is a condition of approval that the commission wants to impose.
Well, I'll bring it back to the commission. Where's the commission's thought on the extension of the wall height? Commissioner Escamilla?
I would be fully supportive, but I think especially if it's targeted in the area where the, oh my gosh, I guess if it's doing 2 things, right? So just the light mitigation, probably the area where it turns facing the single-family residence, probably most impacted with any sort of bright lights. So I think that's definitely a key area, but then I guess there's also a question as to whether or not the noise mitigation should then carry all the way through the property line. Though if we treat this particular property this way, I don't know if we have a history of making the same requirement for the McDonald's and, the In-N-Out and how we treated the other parcels on Bristol that had the exact same wall set up. So I'm just, I would have to kind of square those two, and I don't have an answer, so I would defer to staff on that.
Can we see the image again, please? Thank you.
Were you requesting the site plan or the existing photo of the property?
I guess whatever image or images may give us the best idea of, well, one, like the existing wall, and then it sounds like Commissioner Escamilla wanted to maybe see in greater detail where, if any, we might want to require a higher wall, so.
I believe I saw an existing photo of the lot from a corner view. So it looks like the wall is all uniform throughout the parcel. And you're saying that's 6 foot?
6 foot 8 inches, and I will note that the photometric plan and sound studies were taking into consideration the current configuration of the wall, and identified that it was sufficient to contain the noise and the lighting on site.
Do we know if this is the same height wall that's between In-N-Out and the single-family homes behind it? Or with the McDonald's?
I believe the wall for In-N-Out was 8 feet.
Yeah, thank you. That is correct. So just as a general note, the city slopes generally downward, very shallow from the north end of town to the south end. So the wall, as it courses from McDonald's down through this side towards In-N-Out, is 8 feet tall on these properties, but then at times like 7.5, 7, and then 8, 7, 7.5. On the opposite side, on the single-family residential sides, because of the fill and the grading, they can be sometimes between 6 and 7 feet tall on that side. And according to the Bristol plan, the wall that is built there is consistent with the sort of Bristol-specific plan standard for that sort of sound wall / barrier between these commercial and residential sites.
Thank you.
Right, yeah, I'm conflicted. I don't want to add a condition for extending the wall height, just because, again, the other caller did note that she was concerned about the construction activity and the disturbance it would cause to her property. And I think, tearing down a wall and reconstructing it is a pretty big disturbance. So I'm okay with it being conditioned as is. I just like to make a note that if in the future, or if down the road there are issues with sound, or there are issues with light bleeding into the surrounding SFRs, that we consider elongating or raising the fence or the block wall taller, but that should be a discussion between staff and the applicant, and I'll be okay with that. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move conditional use permit number 2024-06, conditional use permit number 2024-07 for the property at 1303 North Bristol Street, for the property located on the Bristol Street Corridor Specific Plan zoning district.
And I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wu and a second by Vice Chair Oliva. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger?
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Aye.
Commissioner Leo?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos?
Aye.
Commissioner Wu?
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva?
Aye.
Chair Pham?
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4.
Next, we have item number 4 for South Coast Technology Center. The application before you is zoning ordinance amendment number 2024-01 for the properties located at 3100, 3110, 3120, 3130, and 3400 West Lake Center Drive, located
Heidi,
within...
let me interrupt you for a second. Before you continue, is there any disclosure the commissioners would like to disclose before we begin?
I was hoping to get out of this, and so go ahead, you can let us speak. But
Commissioner
yes,
Manager.
I did have an hour discussion with Mr. Jeffrey Reese from the Sigerstrom and Sons Company about this project, in which he explained the proposals. So I've kind of had that discussion. I also have a second thing to disclose, and this is just overabundance of caution. But as many of you know, I'm president of Comlink. We just had our annual award night and at Bowers. And my financial group did go out and ask for donations from various businesses for us to have that night. And Sigerson and Sons were kind enough to give a donation. I did not benefit from it. We are all volunteers, and I didn't even get to spend the money. That was handled by a different group. So, but I do want to disclose that I have those 2 items.
Thank you, Commissioner Manager. Commissioner Escamilla?
Are you sure?
Nothing to disclose.
Commissioner Leo?
I did speak to the applicant several months back just about the general project and its relationship to the other growth that's going on as you go further out MacArthur.
Commissioner Wu?
Statute limitation on, I have no money value on it.
No contact with the applicant, correct? No. All right. Commissioner Ramos?
No disclosures.
Vice Chair?
I did meet with the applicant and we had an info session and just learned about the project.
Thank you. I met with Mr. Reese as well to discuss the project. Other than that, everyone submitted their forms. disclosure forms? Yeah.
I was gonna joke it, now I'm just feeling left out.
Well, you're getting a first-hand presentation right now, Heidi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. The application before you is zoning ordinance amendment number 2024-01 for the properties located at 3100, 3110, 3120, 3130, 3400 West Lake Center Drive, located within Ward 1. The project consists of modifying specific development number 58 is to establish permitted and conditionally permitted light industrial land uses, accompanying development standards, as well as additional zoning text updates in order to facilitate the construction of 3 industrial buildings for a new industrial park development known as South Coast Technology Center. Staff's recommendation would be that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council adopt an ordinance approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2024-01. The properties are located within the Industrial General Plan designation and specific development number 58, surrounded by a recreation field to the north, an office building to the east, the U.S. Postal Service to the south, and an office park to the west. The properties are a combined 15.94 acres, which equates to 694,297 square feet. The proposed development would be 313,244 square feet. The project site is highlighted on the screen in red. On October 15, 1990, the City Council adopted ordinance number NS 2089, allowing for the rezoning of certain properties from light industrial to SD 58, and increased the allowable floor area from 0.4 to 0.72 within the SD area. Later, on July 18, 2005, the City Council adopted ordinance number NS 2684 and Resolution 2005-46, amending SD 58 to conditionally permit private recreation fields and trade school land uses, and approved various entitlements to facilitate a trade school land use for a private recreation field at 3100 West MacArthur Boulevard. The Lake Center Business Park was constructed in the mid to late 1980s with 3 three-story office buildings. An additional 320,000 square feet of additional office space was approved but was never constructed. On September 11, 2003, the applicant submitted development project application number 2023-03. The image on screen shows the entire SD 58 area. The cross-hatched area in red would be the limited light industrial parcels. On screen, we have images of the site's current condition. The proposed project consists of a zoning ordinance amendment request to make comprehensive amendments to SD 58 to facilitate redevelopment of the properties identified as the limited light industrial parcels. The redevelopment would involve demolishing 3 three-story office buildings and other existing on-site improvements to construct 3 new Class A modern industrial buildings, as well as on-site and off-site improvements. The proposed on-site improvements, again, include demolition of the existing development and construction of 3 new industrial buildings. The proposed development would feature second-story office balconies, outdoor patios, landscaping, surface parking, site lighting, security fencing, and EV charging stations. A park plaza would also be situated at the northwest corner of the site and be improved with linear paving, light bollards, architecturally harmonious benches and seating, flowering accent trees, shrubs, and soft foliage. The proposed off-site improvements include replacing asphalt along Lake Center Drive from Harbor Boulevard to Susan Street, new grind and overlay of Lake Center Drive that extends across the length of the project site, and relocating tree wells from the sidewalk to back of sidewalk. On the screen, we have the proposed site plan. Project renderings from Lake Center Drive facing towards MacArthur Boulevard. And additional renderings featuring Building 2 and Building 3. Here we have the conceptual landscape plan. An enlarged conceptual landscape plan of the Park Plaza. The zoning ordinance amendment modifications include introducing limited light industrial land uses and conditionally permissible land uses. This modification would allow for additional land uses at the site consistent with the general plan that would meet current land use needs. Eliminate development phasing as it no longer is applicable to the SD area. Establish a height limit of 55 feet for the limited light industrial parcels to maintain consistency with industry standards. Introduce requirements for a sign program and allow for a 20% deviation of development standards related to signage to ensure consistency amongst signage and to allow flexibility in signage to encourage a creative design compatible with the modern vision for the site. Provide for clarification on location and amount of trees to be placed in parking areas to ensure high-quality landscaping and clarity on size and placement. Allow for fencing to encroach the setback area and require planning review of perimeter fencing for all fencing in excess of 7 feet in height. This is to ensure consistency with city standards and compliance with accessibility standards while allowing for security fencing. Establishing a parking rate for trade schools, professional schools, and limited light industrial land uses to ensure consistency with city standards and allow for flexibility of future land uses. Lastly, operating standards to ensure conformity with the EIR and prepared CEQA exemption, eliminate reference to curb returns, and provide operational standards for limited light industrial land uses to ensure that the new development and future development conform to regulations outlined in SD 58 and previously established environmental requirements. Staff's recommendation is based on the following analysis. The proposed amendments would support redevelopment of the site in a manner that is compatible with the surrounding community. The improvements would rejuvenate business activity in the area, as the existing buildings are largely vacant and underutilized. Industrial districts are significant sources of employment and municipal revenue and contribute to the economic health of the city and the region. The project is not anticipated to create impacts related to light pollution, traffic, noise, or any other environmental impacts to the surrounding properties. The project would be consistent with the city's general plan and the general plan update final recirculated program environmental impact report adopted by the City Council on April 19, 2022. The nearest sensitive land use is approximately 300 feet from the project site. However, the proposed land uses are not anticipated to result in negative impacts as it would be limited light industrial uses consistent with the general plan update. Lastly, the project is deemed consistent with various goals. and policies of the general plan, including those found in the land use, urban design, and economic prosperity element, listed here for reference. Also listed here. Public notifications for the project were posted, published, and mailed to tenants and owners of properties located within a 2,000-foot radius of the project site. Additionally, 2 community meetings were held for the project, the first on September 27, 2023, and the second on January 10, 2024. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, the project is exempt per Section 15183 of CEQA guidelines, and environmental review number 2023-109 will be filed for this project. The analysis evaluated whether the project's potential impacts are addressed in the City of Santa Ana General Plan Update Final Recirculated Program Environmental Impact Report. The review concluded that the proposed project is consistent with build-out of the general plan update, and upon implementation of regulatory requirements and mitigation measures, the proposed project would not have significant effects which are peculiar to the project or the project site. There are no specific impacts or potentially significant off-site or cumulative impacts that the General Plan Update Program EIR did not already analyze. The economic and fiscal impacts associated with the proposed redevelopment were also evaluated as part of this project, which concluded that upon occupancy, the project is anticipated to generate a total of 687 permanent jobs, 425 on-site, and 265 off-site, and 555 one-time jobs. The project would result in an annual increase of production of goods and services of $256.1 million. At build-out, the project is anticipated to generate an annual recurring incremental fiscal surplus of $257,736, based on the generation of $460,412 in annual recurring revenues and $202,676 in recurring annual costs. The annual revenue generated are projected to equal 2.27 times the associated city general fund, thus generating a positive net fiscal impact. Therefore, staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council adopt an ordinance approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2024-01, modifying various sections of the specific development number 58. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is in the audience as well.
Thank you, Heidi. Commissioner Benninger, do you have any questions for Heidi?
A couple of things. When we had the discussion, they just discovered that the railroad tracks, which are no longer there, but the land is part of their property. Are they going to include that in their development as their own?
Sorry, I missed the first part. What was that?
Okay, was a railroad spur that was on the east side of their property, west side of property. They found out that that belonged to them. The railroad tracks have been removed. It's been fenced off because of homeless concerns that we've had in the area. And I just want to be sure that that property gets concluded in with their land layout on it. Or I should say,
So I have the site plan on the screen. Where's the?
if you look up.
Okay.
Can you turn on your mic, Commissioner Benninger?
Thank you. They discovered a short time ago that that land actually belonged to them. And so now that the rail tracks have been pulled up, the land's just sitting there, it's fenced off. I just want to be sure that that is incorporated and developed with this land development that's there.
Okay. As proposed, it is not currently incorporating that area. However, the applicant is in the audience and can answer your question as far as the future plans for that area.
Also, and I don't know if this is the appropriate part, I hope we have someone here from Public Works. They're going to repave Land of Lake City, the street, which has got to be the worst street in the city of Santa Ana. Those of us that have ever driven that street knows how bad it is. So the applicant is nice enough to redo that so I don't know whether Public Works could help them out, because if you go 25, 50 feet west of the property on that street, there's two beautiful pine trees that have lifted the sidewalk up a good 14 to 15 inches. City right now is liable, because if it is someone trips on it, they could be held liable. But it'd be nice that we repair that sidewalk, so when this project opens up, not only do you have a nice brand new street, but you also have a nice sidewalk leading into the area. Kelly?
And Commissioner Benninger, prior to this meeting, I know a couple of commissioners had expressed their concerns about the condition of sidewalks and streets in that area. So we did relay that to our colleague, Development Manager Monica Suter, for her consideration along with the city engineer to see if the city does have street improvement plans that extend beyond the boundaries of this project to make sure that they can sync up as much as possible to avoid just ongoing community disruptions with like lane closures and streets being torn up and reconstructed. So that's certainly on their radar. And if Ms. Suter has anything she'd like to add, I'm sure she could come up and share.
Good evening again. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the question. So we are glad that the applicant is willing to do and completely repave West Lake Center all the way from Susan all the way to Harbor. That is hugely important to the community. So we're very happy about that. Normally, we request frontage improvements. And so going west of, the railroad tracks there is quite a big ask. So as far as the sidewalk, that's not necessarily what has been included so far to date and what we've discussed. But as far as the pavement, yes, and it is agreed that we did walk that job, and I noticed as well that there were some serious sidewalk issues, so.
In the serious sidewalk issues, does the city have money to fix it? Next question.
Okay. And I don't, were you asking rhetorically or?
I know that we have sidewalk improvement funds that is in our budget for next year. And it would be nice in the next 2 years to take care of this.
We can look at that to see if we can add something to maybe make that happen or figure out some other solution.
Thank you.
Those are good questions, and I appreciate your questions.
All set, thank you.
Commissioner Escamilla.
All right, I got a couple for you. So I guess just to start off, can you go to slide 61, please? Okay, so there's just the establishment of a height of 55 feet. So right here, we're using the phrase maintaining consistency with industry standards. And I think it's a really interesting perspective because our standard for industrial, just in all other kind of light industrial areas, usually limits at 35 feet. You can just walk us through kind of what that decision or kind of what that kind of conversation looked like, just because I think that right here we're seeing an example of potentially editing our zoning code to comply with current standards to allow for additional opportunities for development across various industrial sites. And I think this is a pretty good example of why we might want to change our standard from 35 feet to 55 feet.
Sure. The city also does have some height exempt areas that allow for additional height. Specifically here, the applicant indicated that 55 feet was the ideal height for to accommodate for industrial land uses that might need more room overhead just based on equipment. As far as specifically the driving force of like the industry, the applicant may be able to speak more as far as this making it more of a desired leasable space.
Absolutely, 100% agree. I just wanted to point out that I think that this is actually the type of flexibility that we'd like to see, or that at least I would like to see, because it does allow for, like you said, different types of manufacturers, those that require a little bit more controlled indoor space. And within our industrial zones, I don't think there's necessarily a negative impact, and especially in areas like this that aren't adjacent to any sort of sensitive receptor. So again, I just think it's a really good example of what we probably need to do citywide and code-wise to allow for additional redevelopment opportunities within our aging industrial properties. So I just think it's really good, and definitely kudos for doing that. Number 2, we'll start with this, or go with this one. I didn't see anything on any kind of cool roof standard. So just, I know that we typically do that, and it might just be on the applicant to do it just from best practices, but do we have anything in place to make sure that there's less of a heat island effect now that we're building new and you can just paint white, first go around?
Not from a development standard perspective. I'm not sure if that is a building code requirement.
Okay. And then with the fencing, so is that fencing behind the 10-foot landscape buffer, or is that just within the landscaping buffer? Because again, I just want to make sure that whatever procedures we have here, I think this is actually a really good product, but I want to make sure that we have standards in place that kind of allow this to happen without necessarily going through a full SD, if we can avoid that.
Sure, I can clarify. These are security fences that would be surrounding the property. Just based on review with in collaboration with the building department, there are certain areas that needed to encroach the setback area in order to meet accessibility standards. And so they are limiting the length of that to ensure that it's not creating a situation where other properties or tenants could potentially encroach the setback area for more than, I believe, 20 feet.
Okay, yeah, and again, I think it looks good, and we are including this fencing. I just know that sometimes we have issues when folks ask us for a fence in their front yard area, and then we say, well, we point to the rules and say, we can't do that for you, but it maybe makes sense in a lot of these industrial properties. I do like the way that it's visually, you can still see through, so it doesn't create a long block wall, and you're still able to see the building. So I think that was a really good add here. And I guess this might be more for Ali, or sorry, Ty's here. Sorry, you're both here. How are we handling just kind of our general SD, not conversions, but we're trying to kind of have more standardized land use regulations, and right now we have the 80 SDs. So are we kind of in that process of this should just be done as an M1 standard going back to its original use?
We can give you a little bit more information on that towards the end of the meeting with regards to comment. We do have a comments on the comprehensive zoning code update.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then I guess one more, just if we're looking at that zoning code update, we did also have an exemption on signage here, which I think is actually very reasonable to do. I know sometimes our sign ordinance can be a little restrictive, so having that flexibility built into the various sites, I think adds to everybody's flexibility, you as a planner, and then the applicant being able to get the signage that they need and that's appropriate and just looks good. So I do think that that's also another cool feature that's kind of hidden in here. There's only one thing that I would do that if, and this might require more work on our part, if we have any sort of native planting guidelines, so just anything that includes local pollinators, anything that basically creates habitat. So once we're looking at sites that are this large, every time there's grass and any sort of vegetation, it is an opportunity to reintroduce natural habitat that has a lower upkeep, that is drought tolerant, that looks actually quite nice when it is in bloom. It looks a little weird when it's chaparral doesn't look as nice when it's all dry, but it does look nice when it blooms. So anyways, I just think that that was the only thing that I saw that was missing maybe from this application, but other than that, I think it was really well put together.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leo?
No questions of staff.
Commissioner Wu?
I don't have any question.
Commissioner Ramos? Vice Chair? Heidi, can I get some clarification on the parking ratios and the request to define those parking ratios? My understanding is it's a industrial use or light industrial. Why is there an inclusion of trade schools?
I believe, so in 2005, when the resolution was approved to facilitate the inclusion of trade schools and the other land use, and the recreation field, it did not consider parking, I believe, and so as part of this project, they are incorporating that as well.
Maybe I'm asking out of not knowing, but why would we need to include these descriptions if the land use isn't being used for those activities?
So the SD does allow for that land use.
Okay.
It just did not have specific specific parking standards for the land use at the time that the land use was added. Typically, that would then default to our zoning code. However, the applicant wanted to include that parking standard in the SD document.
No other comments for myself. Is there any other comments from the commissioners? We'll open up the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Apologies, I thought you were calling for public comment on it. Chairman, thank you very much. Commissioners, it's an honor to be here tonight. So interesting, I was listening to Commissioner Escamilla's comments. So about 10 years ago, I stood before this body on the extension to that development agreement. And the family really had made a long commitment to attempt to make office work in that area. And really what's happened over time, not because of that site, just the evolution, and really COVID was kind of the overhand right that ended that ability to really have office. So as we're here today, those offices are vacant, and this really meets the market demand, and the family's excited. And obviously there's many properties that are associated with C.J. Segerstrom and Sons and the company, but this shows that the family has a kind of real focus on making sure they invest in high quality development in the neighborhoods and are a good partner. And I heard a lot of great comments up here tonight, and just one that I wanted to address quickly, Commissioner Benninger, about the rail spur. While that's not part of this, we have already engaged with neighbors in that area, other property owners, and just as this property will be patrolled by South Coast Plaza Security like we do all of our properties, it'll get that same level of attention to be a place of business and commerce and not a place where there is nuisance. We will be addressing that. It just won't be part of this project, but your comments are well taken. The family very much cares about taking care of its land and property, and yes, you're right. It took some decades, but we did find out that that rail spur was ours, so.
Can we ask?
Go ahead. Commissioner Leo.
Justin, thanks for the family's continued involvement in Santa Ana. It's welcomed. I had a question at the start in my mind about industrial space in the county. We added some space on Dyer, I believe on Dyer. We're gonna add this. What is the vacancy rate, if at all? Is it down to zero? I mean, not many places are putting up industrial space. We
Sure.
are.
Sure.
But yet, I'm just wondering if you kind of know.
Yeah, no,
You guys know what the market looks like.
That's an exciting comment, and with that, I'm gonna bring Jeff Reese up, who really was the person who identified this project and kind of this change in use on the site. Jeff has his hand on really what the feel is for real estate in the leasing, industrial, and office, and Jeff brought this here, so Jeff can probably comment on that.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Reese, Segerstrom. The question was the vacancy rate of industrial?
In the county, because I'm assuming it's limited. And where you guys are headed, obviously where the market is, and the growth in that area is light industrial. When I think about, you go out past Harbor, you go Highland, right? You go in that area.
Sure.
There's more light industrial. People need places to invent
Right.
and create and do whatever. So I just wondered what the marketplace looks like.
Yeah, the industrial vacancy rate in Orange County generally is about 2.5%. It's ticked up a little bit. There's been a lot of industrial construction in the last 12 to 24 months. In Santa Ana, there's a couple of projects, one called Elevate on Harbor Boulevard that used to be office. Now it's gone. It's being graded for, I think, 162,000 square foot building. Industrial demand has softened a bit. So the new buildings that have been built, I believe there's about 17 of them across the county. They're largely empty. There's a little bit of activity and it's starting to come back a bit. But we feel our project is positioned differently than most of what's been built. They're higher image, they have more parking, they have the balconies, as Heidi mentioned, the patio areas, better landscaping. We're not looking for warehouse distribution type companies. We're looking for what we call corporate industrial. Companies that have office space, R&D, light manufacturing, maybe some assembly, and some warehouse. Really a combination of all. And those companies tend to be more image conscious. I think a couple years ago when Director Ty and I took a tour of some surrounding properties that we own, I think you could see that the combination of those types of uses is really what we're looking for. They're more job creators than, say, an Amazon warehouse or a UPS distribution facility.
Thank you.
Commissioner Benninger, do you have any additional comments?
Oh, if I could also address the railroad spur. That is under an easement with Union Pacific. It's in perpetuity, so we've engaged Union Pacific to get them to clean it up. It also goes north of our property next to Home Depot, which is a really sad stretch. And we're dealing with the property owners of the Home Depot property, Kimco Realty and Home Depot, to get that wall between Home Depot and the rail spur rebuilt and cleaned up. So we're on it.
I want to thank you for pointing that out to me. Every time I go to Home Depot, that's exactly what I see, that
Yeah.
broken wall.
It's a pretty rough stretch, but Union Pacific is also, they're big, they're difficult to deal with, but we're engaged with them to get that place cleaned up.
Commissioner Escamilla?
And, yeah, thank you for bringing this project. I do think you did a good job like bringing everything together here. So a quick question, just as we're kind of going through this zoning code update, were there any sort of local, site requirements that either were more difficult to deal with than others? Any kind of adjustments that you'd like? I know the FAR here is probably a little higher than you would have in other similar industrial parcels, so that seems to have maybe helped out a little bit, but I'm not sure if you even got to that 0.72 or if it even mattered at this point.
We're not even close to 0.72. I think that was really put in place to handle the office buildings that are there today. We're at about 0.44, 0.45, so we're way below that.
Okay, and then I think you got treated with the, the non-arterial setbacks, and that was only the 10 feet rather than the full 20 that you would have.
Yeah, we worked largely with city staff on that issue. They didn't want the fence right at the property line. They wanted landscaping in front of the fence. So we feel site security is a real important thing for these types of companies that are maybe doing some sensitive R&D type work. So by having the fence set back 10 feet, you still have 10 feet of very nice landscaping along the public right-of-way, and then the fence happens, and we have more landscaping on the parking lot side of the fence as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wu?
I have no question.
Commissioner Ramos? Vice Chair? No questions from me as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Looks like we have quite a bit of public speakers, but before we address these, is there any speakers that are on Zoom?
We don't have any speakers on Zoom.
Before we begin, I appreciate all the public speakers for staying with this long. I know it's been quite a long meeting, so I'll just go down the list, and then please feel free to approach and state your name. We have Mr. Randy Wither.
Good evening, Commissioners. Randy Wetmer, Ironworkers Local 416. This South Coast Technology Project, it's something that's needed for our working members here in Santa Ana. You know, they're traveling out of town. This is going to bring them back to the community. So I'm here in support of a yes vote. I hope you guys do the same thing. Thank you.
Mr. Bobby James.
Evening, everyone. My name is Bobby James. I represent UA Plumbers and Steam Fitters, Local 582. We support this project, and your yes votes today shows that you support us and Santa Ana as a whole. This project allows our hardworking men and women to advance their careers while earning middle-class wages and benefits. Most importantly, the developer has made a pledge to hire local and skilled construction workforce members to build their vision, ensuring a high-quality project and enshrining the community's basic economic needs by supporting the people all around. This project is great for our community, and we strongly urge you to approve it with your yes vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zach Straters.
Hi, good evening.
Zach Strosters with CARE California. So first, let me just give you a little bit of background on who CARE is, why we're here tonight, why we're in your city. So CARE takes a look at projects and how they're going to impact the community, hence the name CARE. So when we took a look at the offering by Segerstrom, one of the first things we looked at was what's going to be the overall community benefit. And a lot of times, although we look project to project, we took a little bit of investigation at the developer, and we realized the type of relationship that Segerstrom had with this community. So that gave us an indication, that gave us a clue as to what the development was going to look like. And then when you heard the rep talk about all the way down to the railway spur, all the way down to the nature of the relationship with Union Pacific, you can tell that there's been a lot of time invested, not just to make sure that the details are met, but that this project is a representation of Santa Ana's expectations. The second thing that I want to bring up, and the way that CARE approaches a project, if we choose to support it, is we take a look at the way that city staff has been worked with. And you have delightful staff. They know what they're doing. It's evident that they're in the details. You know, I would even argue down to an emotional investment, saying, yes, we've invested our time, hundreds of man hours, hundreds of staff hours to make sure that the offering is a quality. And so with city staff involved and with a quality community benefits package, the next thing that we look at is the nature of the project in particular as it relates to the overall arc of construction, and this type of construction, industrial. Now, generally speaking, as the rep had mentioned, we're on the downside of the arc of industrial development if you go very far east. If you go out into the IE or you go out, further, you may see that the vacancy is even higher than 2.5. But the reality of it is, because of the age of many of the cities in the OC, it's actually not as common to have something over 100,000 square feet. Like a 300,000 square feet offering is something that is not that common. And so when we take into account the quality of the developer, and when we take into account the involvement of city staff, and we take into account the arc of development with regards to industrial, we look at a project like this and we say this has the potential for generational impact. This has the potential to be able to offer students, people that are looking for certain types of service jobs, people that are looking for certain types of employment. This type of development is essential for the community. It is essential, especially in Orange County. And so we believe that Santa Ana will not only be pleased with this project, but it'll be pleased with the generational impact for many years to come. So for that reason, we ask that you support this development. We appreciate you. God bless you.
Thank you. Wayne McDonald's.
Good evening, Honorable Planning Commissioners. My name is Wanye McDonald. I'm here to speak in favor of the project here before us. The approval permitting construction and occupancy of these 3 industrial buildings presented before you today will result in hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs over this project's lifetime. When we consider the future of our city and the decisions that produce favorable outcomes for our working class, we must look at opportunities like this to encourage private developers such as this as a blessing and a benefit that we cannot afford to ignore. So please approve this project. Thank you. God bless.
Raymond Jackson.
Good evening, Planning Commission, Chair, and fellow Commissioner. My name is Raymond Jackson, and I am speaking in favor of South Coast Technology Center project. As a parent, I am kindly aware of the importance of entry-level jobs for teenagers and students in their 20s. Unskilled employment opportunities are essential for helping youth to provide for themselves while they are planning for a future in a specific industry. The community is satisfied that this is not only a quality use of a physical space, but it's also a way for us to diversify the types of employment with our city to accommodate populations that are seeking what is this project offer. For this reason, I ask that you approve this project in order to help successfully place those hungry for opportunity on to the path of success. Thank you, and God bless you.
John Tafoya.
Hey everybody, my name is John Tafoya. I'm here on behalf of the Western Regional Council of Carpenters Union, representing over 3,000 members who live, work, and play in this great city and county, to express our strong support for the South Coast Technology Center project. It is clear that the Sigerson family understands the importance of building quality projects. By partnering with us, they are committed to creating a project that will not only be the best in class, but also best in supporting good paying wages and benefits to the workers building this. Moreover, as highlighted by the staff report, the South Coast Technology Center project would result in various on-site and off-site improvements that would enhance the community experience and foster a dynamic local economy, creating employment opportunities for all residents in the city. This is the type of projects that the city of Santa Ana and its residents deserve, one that creates high-quality construction jobs, supports the local skilled workforce, and contributes to the local community. Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Jonathan Daly.
Good evening. Should have sat closer to the podium. My name is Jonathan Daly. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and very proud member of LIUNA, Laborers Union. I would like to start by thanking you for the opportunity to speak in support of this project tonight. A few reasons of many as to why I was eager to speak this evening is these projects mean a lot to us. It means our families are fed and have a roof over their heads. It means we have health care and can take care of our kids. It means we have our apprentices from our state-recognized apprenticeship program obtaining the knowledge and experience needed to ensure a very successful career path in this industry. With that said, this is a very responsible developer who hires highly skilled and trained union workforce to build to the highest standards, and we cannot be more proud to be a part of that. On behalf of all of our members, more specifically Local 652 and our families, we hope you approve this project so we are able to work locally and spend money in our community. I'm a big fan of distilled spirits and Raising Cane's, so I've heard some great news here tonight. But yeah, we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Danny Osborne.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Danny Osborne. I represent over 5,000 members of Ironworkers Local 433, and we support this project. We support this project firstly because it's committed to using a skilled and trained workforce. That means it's going to be built efficiently and safely. It's going to be built right the first time, and you can trust those buildings to remain standing long after the workforce is gone. Secondly, we're supporting this project because it's committed to paying a fair wage. That means the men and women on this project will be appropriately compensated for their back-breaking efforts. Nobody working in construction should be making $2 or $3 over minimum wage, my personal opinion. Lastly, we're supporting this project because it promises to put local residents to work. That means less time sitting in traffic, more time at home with our families, right? Our families are the reason we go to work in the first place. When we have a project that's checking all these boxes, we're going to support that 100 times out of 100. And we hope that you'll support it as well. Thank you.
That concludes our public comments. We'll now close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any discussion items you'd like to disclose or speak about?
I'm ready to move to approve, but if we want to have any comments.
No, I think I'm ready to approve. I do want to thank all the speakers tonight. I like also the precise of your speech, to the point, and very much appreciate it.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Can I add a comment?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Often when we go to community meetings, you hear longtime residents saying, there used to be a place we could go when you don't go to college, but you could learn some trade, you could learn some skills, and you could get a job to support your family. We do a lot of conditional use permit and a lot of approval, but this is one thing that meets what the community has been asking for, and that is a place where their children could learn some skills and get a decent job to support their family and then contribute back to our community. So I think that, I thank the union folks for coming out tonight. I know you've been working hard all day, but for you to come out here and speak on behalf of that echoes a lot of what the residents in the community say. And the Secretary family, as usual, has always favored to look upon the working folks of the community, and I thank you for being here as well.
I will move that we approve this project.
I second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Benninger, a second by Commissioner Wu. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger?
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Aye.
Commissioner Leo?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos?
Aye.
Commissioner Wu?
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva?
Aye.
Chair Pham?
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all coming. That concludes the business calendar. We're moving on to administrative matters. The first item is elections for officers 2024 to 2025. Before we begin, I just want to clarify that a nomination does not need to be a second. We'll go with the nomination of chair first. I'll take all nominations at one time, and we'll just go down the nomination list until we have a new chair. With that said, any nominations?
I was going to nominate the present chair. You've done an excellent job, and I would love to have it there.
Chairman Nguyen, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Yuri Ramos.
Any other nomination?
I'd like to nominate our vice chair.
Any other nominations? Okay. We'll go vice chair first. Meaning, I'll call for the vote for your nomination first.
Oh, okay. I should have asked you.
So the nomination is going to be for
Vice Chair Oliva.
Oliva?
So I think we had a nomination by Commissioner Benninger for Chair Pham to remain chair.
That's correct.
And then we had a nomination by Commissioner Wu nominating Commissioner Ramos as chair. And then I have for vice chair, Chair Pham nominating Vice Chair Oliva.
Oh, no, sorry. I just wanted to call the vote for vice chair. So we'll just go down the list of potential candidates for chair.
Okay, thank you.
So there's three nominations.
Yes, so we heard three nominations. I think the last nomination for
Your mic's off.
Ramos, Commissioner Ramos. Was that a nomination for Commissioner Oliva as chair or vice chair?
As chair.
Chair. So.
And then I also just wanted to say, maybe we should give a second for those being nominated to respectfully accept or decline said nominations.
Sure.
So just for clarity, we have 3 nominations for chairs. That's Chair Pham, Commissioner Olivar, and Commissioner Ramos.
And we have had no acceptance and no second,
Well, we don't need a second, but we'll do the acceptance.
because I thought some of you weren't running.
Commissioner Ramos?
Can I ask Commissioner Oliva if she's accepting her nomination first?
I'll accept the nomination.
Commissioner Ramos?
With that, I will not take my nomination.
Myself as well. Thank you, Commissioner Benjamin, for the nomination, but I'll step back this year.
Oh, I didn't talk to anyone.
So we have one nomination. We'll still call for a vote, but we have one nomination for chair, which is Vice Chair Oliva.
Okay, Commissioner Benninger,
Aye, I support her.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
For chair. For chair.
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Congratulations. Our next office is for vice chair. Is there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Ramos.
I accept.
Okay, seeing no other nominations, we'll please call roll.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Oliva,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chair, Vice Chair. I'm very done with my job. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Still got a few more minutes.
Well, we'll conclude the administrative matter, move on to staff comments.
I'd
Yes,
like to thank you for your service, Chairman Bao.
Yes, we do have a short comment from our staff regarding the comprehensive zoning code update. But before that starts, I just want to thank Chair Pham and Vice Chair Oliva for your service over the last year. It was, I enjoyed working with you, and I also look forward to working with you as the new chair. And also congratulations to Commissioner Ramos for your vice chairship for this year.
Thank you.
All right, so just as an announcement for the community as well as the Planning Commission, we have finalized dates for the first series of community workshops for the zoning code update. I do want to stress that staff is very excited for this endeavor. We are trying a brand new method of community outreach through what we would call planning collaboratives, where people are sort of targeted in hard to reach populations, small business owners, large business owners, residents from all walks of our communities, to really take the time to come in and share their ideas of what they'd like to see in terms of implementing the general plan through a zoning code. It's not just land use, it's also processes, procedures, all that stuff that informs the work that this commission does. So the first one will actually be tomorrow evening at the New Hope Library at 5 o'clock for 2 hours. It's open house style format, so drop in anytime between 5 and 7 p.m. Then on Wednesday evening, we'll have another similarly formatted one from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Delhi Center. Then on Wednesday, the 17th, so next week, we'll have another 5 to 7 p.m. workshop at a location called The Village at 17th Street. This is like an event space in the city. As well as one on Thursday, the 18th, at the El Salvador Community Center. That one is actually midday. That's so that folks who can't come during the evening could come midday if they so please. That one's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon. And lastly, for those who find it difficult on the weekdays to partake, we're offering one on Saturday, the 20th as well. This one will actually be 3 hours long from 10 to 1 at the McFadden Institute of Technology in the southern part of town, We're also planning for a sixth one. We've had such good reception from the community so far that we're planning for a sixth to cover all geographic parts of the city, to make it as easy as possible for folks to join. So a lot of the points that are brought up in meetings like this about landscaping, building heights, things like that, I strongly encourage all of you and those who you know in the profession of planning to partake in these and share your thoughts. And if attending these meetings is not an option for you as commissioners, you are more than welcome to also reach out one-on-one to either Director Ty or myself to share your thoughts and opinions. That's it.
Thank you.
Chairman Bell, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I was wondering, will you also include some presentation of possible areas that you might be looking at in terms of special districts or development types?
Yeah, absolutely. That will all be covered during the workshops and also to solicit input from the community. As a friendly reminder, the general plan did adopt 5 focus areas for sort of more intense infill opportunities in the community. These are areas that the community identified. So those would be like the new special areas. In addition, we are, as staff, going through comprehensively all of our existing special plan areas, like the specific developments like we saw tonight, as well as our specific plan areas, to see which ones are truly serving a special purpose on an ongoing basis and which ones could be streamlined and folded into the broader zoning code just for ease of implementation and understanding how we use our codes.
The curiosity I have is like in the city of Garden Grove, they had these little cottage industry district. And I don't know if there's some area where, because we have such a competition for single family homes and such, but I also know that industry-wise, people are trying to bring some of those Hollywood jobs here and specifically been looking for property where they could do editing, sound, recording and other kinds of side work related to, movie production kind of thing. So I didn't know if like the city has been up on it yet or.
These are all topics I would encourage you and your peers to share at our community workshops. It takes on various forms, home businesses, accessory commercial units, all those sort of topics are things that we are looking forward to hearing input on as part of this process.
Thank you. The word is out.
And I just want to quickly say that while we're not creating any more designation of zoning of additional area for these type of uses, because the general plan has already laid out where these areas are, there is an opportunity to define certain type of uses within those areas. So I think that's a great opportunity for us to evaluate what type of uses is most appropriate where and in what zone in our city.
Commissioner Benninger, any closing comments?
Hope everybody had a great Fourth. I was very fortunate having family in town and very much enjoyed it. At a couple of meetings ago, we talked about how we can bring subjects in for discussion, and if there's 4 of us interested in it, we can bring it up. One that I really would like to have done is I'd like to have the fire department come and talk to us about how they're planning the changes that are occurring in the city. We have a lot of high-rise buildings that have been built north of the town, and we're going to have a whole lot south of the town. And I'm seeing six-story buildings out of wood being built. I'd really like to know how the Orange County Fire Department is training, improving their equipment and their tactics in order to battle fire at any one of these locations. So I'm going to propose, if my colleagues agree, that they come and do a half-hour presentation talking about how they're preparing and what changes that they have made over the years in order to battle these fires.
Before I jump to you, Commissioner Escobar, don't we have a list of work study items that's been circulating around? Is that something that takes precedence over what Commissioner Benninger is speaking about, or should that be added onto the list of potential work study topics?
I think that could be added onto the list as a part of the topics, but if the commission feels it's important enough to have a standalone presentation on it, that's also an option as well. You don't have to necessarily take a vote, but if there are more than three or more commissioners are interested in it, we'll be happy to take down the information. And, we'll work with the fire department to schedule a convenient time for their, presentation, if they're available.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm equal to that. Although,
I just wanted to point out that based on our procedure, the procedural aspects of it, it would be placed on the agenda for possible agendizing for a future meeting. Yeah, so.
So the question tonight then would be, are you interested in just having this as part of the larger discussion, or do you want a standalone presentation? So that way we can just agendize it next time.
Commissioner Manager?
I would recommend a standalone presentation.
Yeah,
Anything to add?
I'm sorry?
Do you have anything to add to what Commissioner Manager was asking?
Oh, no, I was just going to go with my comments if he's done. All right. Okay. No, just thanks. I just wanted to thank staff. I think this was a nice hefty agenda, so it was great to actually go through some interesting projects and just a lot of the preliminary work that was done. I definitely appreciated. And I think I'll be missing you all during our next meeting, but then I'll see you back in August. So I'm on vacation.
Just before we move, there are three commissioners that would like to have this topic on the next agenda, right? The fire department?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I see a bunch of nodding.
If the fire department's coming in anyways, I would like to ask if there's some discussion about single-loaded corridors in mixed-use developments. I think that's an interesting topic that pertains to fire, yes.
And
What I would recommend is that at your next meeting, when it's on the agenda, come with a list of things that you'd like to be able to share, so that we can share with the fire department in advance. There may be topics that are beyond just, presentation, and it's more code-related, and we can, work with the fire department to see how we can get that information to you for your knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. And definitely also just wanted to thank all the residents and laborers that ended up coming out. So that was actually good to see a full house, not feeling so alone up here.
Commissioner Leo?
Tonight, we had 4 projects. We only had one with the fiscal impact numbers. We have watched city council, and we all know well that the city is headed towards a fiscal cliff after 5 years. We are doing our part. We just want to know what the numbers are as we get there. If we, over the next year, approve projects that equal a certain amount of revenue, we can help the city fill that budget hole. So I appreciate item number 4 had a number. The other 3, I think Commissioner Escamilla raised the question as well. It gives us a general idea. I guarantee you Raising Cane's generates revenue, and there's some new property taxes. So if you guys can figure out a way to get that number, get a handle on the number. The other thing that I ask about is, we approve those industrial sites. There's got to be ancillary sales taxes generated. When they go to the restaurants nearby, whatever, it's MacArthur and Fairview or whatever it is, we need to better capture that number so that when you're talking to the public about, well, why did you do this or why did you do that? Here's the answer. The answer is we're helping fill the budget hole responsibly, not randomly, but responsibly. Those are my only comments.
I just want to quickly respond to that. Every project you approve will have a definite impact and positive impact on the valuation of a project and the property and the permitting. The reason why only one project had the full fiscal analysis, as part of our general plan update process, any zone change proposal, general plan amendment requires a full-fledged economic impact analysis. And that's why, that is present in that particular staff report. The remainders are conditional use permit, which are not required as part of the analysis. So that's why you'll see the full analysis, the comprehensive information.
Commissioner Wu?
Well, we don't have to go over the fiscal cliff if we didn't have to commit ourselves to certain kind of decision in terms of our budgeting to put us over the cliff and have the control over the city council with political money. So, but I want to not talk about that. I want to talk about something more positive. I had a visitor this weekend, a little young girl, who said, you know, Grandpa, my great-granddaughter, I got a new place to live. And it was the First American Property apartment houses downtown. And it was designed to allow for people at the low income to be there. And it certainly fits this family usage. So we do a lot of good approval of projects. And this is another example of which you probably will get an award for because there's a lot of amenities there, and it's kind of adds to the community of the downtown area. It's designed to have the kind of people that we're trying to provide housing for. So I just want to say, you know, we do good work at this planning commission from time to time.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes, just thank you to staff for being here and being here with us. I just want to thank the commission for your vote of confidence and also congratulate our new chair. And thank you to outgoing chair Bao, who was our chair for 2 years. So welcome to your chair retirement.
New chair?
Yeah, I just want to thank staff for today's meeting. It was a hefty meeting. Just looking at the agenda, it was like, oh, we're getting out a little earlier than what I thought, so that's a good thing. But like Commissioner Ramos shared, thank you for the vote of confidence. I hope to be a chair just like Chair Bao. And congratulations to Commissioner Ramos for being our new vice chair.
Thank you. That's not that high of a bar, but thanks, Aaliyah. And then I really appreciate the outreach to the community about the zoning and the general plan, because I think sometimes people just want the opportunity to, you know, speak their mind and kind of contribute, whether or not it really goes into the shaping the city or not. That we leave it to the planning professionals like yourself. But overall, I think community engagement is a positive thing. So I appreciate it. Other than that, meeting's adjourned. Next meeting is July 22nd.